Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going to really dig into the world of electric vehicles.
Buckle up,
Yeah,
because this isn't just about cars.
you know,
This is about jobs.
that's about China.
It's about this new bill.
Yeah, a new bill on Capitol Hill that's trying to you know, shift the whole balance of power when it comes to EVs.
Yeah. Are we going to buy electric vehicles from China, or are we going to build them here?
Exactly, and we've got a ton of information to go through on this one.
We do congressional hearings,
We've got official House records.
even a Forbes deep dive.
Oh yeah, I love those Forbes deep dives.
Yeah.
So let's jump right in.
Yeah. And what's so fascinating about this whole topic
Yeah,
is that it touches on so many other things.
it does.
It's not just about electric vehicles, it's about the future of American manufacturing.
Right.
It's about our economic rivalry with China. It's even about national security, believe it or not.
Yeah, and it's interesting because
Mm.
if you just take a quick glance at the current state of things.
Yeah.
In the U.S., it seems like things are going pretty well.
Yeah.
We're seeing manufacturing come back.
Yeah, a resurgence.
Yeah, new factories are popping up. Unemployment's down. It's a huge difference from where we were just a few years ago.
It is. It's kind of like a manufacturing renaissance, you could say.
Yeah.
But to really understand why this new bill is causing such a stir, we need to kind of zoom out a little bit.
Okay.
Look at the bigger picture. And that picture includes China
China.
and their very deliberate strategy
Yeah.
to dominate the electric vehicle industry.
So just remind us, why is that such a big deal that China's kind of ahead of the game in the EV market?
Sure.
I mean, they're known for manufacturing, right?
They are. They're good at it. And they've been playing the long game with this.
Okay.
They've invested really heavily in building up their manufacturing capacity, of course.
Yeah.
But also, and this is key,
Yeah.
they've been laser focused on controlling the supply chains,
Okay.
particularly for the batteries that power these vehicles. So just imagine a world where China controls the bulk of the world's EV battery production.
Right.
I mean, that's the scenario this bill is trying to prevent.
So it's not even just about the cars rolling off the assembly line. It's who's making all the parts that go into the cars.
100%. It's about who controls those essential building blocks. And right now,
Yeah.
China's got a big head start.
And that creates vulnerabilities for us.
It does on multiple levels.
Like what?
Well, on the economic front, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Manufacturing equals jobs.
Right.
And we've been losing that battle for years.
Right. We've been hearing about that for decades.
Right. And it goes even deeper than that.
Okay.
Because you're
Yeah.
talking about national security,
Right.
the control over those supply chains, those materials, those are critical for electric vehicles. It's becoming a national security issue.
Wow.
If we're reliant on another country for a key component of this technology, that's only going to become more essential.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a risky position to be in.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. But I'm still
Yeah.
trying to wrap my head around this because we already have EV tax credit in place
We do.
right here in the U.S. Isn't that designed to help level the playing field a little bit and boost American companies?
Yeah.
And make these cars more affordable for people.
It is, the intention was to incentivize people to buy EVs.
Right.
Support the growth of, a domestic EV manufacturing industry.
Right.
But now with this new bill, lawmakers are asking, okay,
Yeah.
are those benefits, are those tax dollars actually reaching American companies and American workers as intended?
Interesting. Okay, so there's this tension between wanting to support green technology and create jobs here,
Right.
but also making sure that we're not accidentally helping China become even stronger.
Exactly. We want to save the planet, but we don't want to hand the keys to the kingdom to our biggest competitor.
Right.
And that tension that's really at the heart of this new bill and all the debate surrounding it.
So let's get to this new bill then.
Yeah, this new piece of legislation
The one making all the waves.
that's making everyone talk.
All right, give it to me straight then. What's it called?
Okay, so it's officially called the End Chinese Dominance of Electric Vehicles in America Act of 2024.
Wow, they really went there.
They did, right to the point.
No messing around. Okay, so this bill, it just sailed through the House of Representatives, right?
It did, yeah, it passed pretty easily.
Okay, so break it down for us, in plain English. How is this thing actually going to loosen China's grip on the American EV market?
All right, so think of it this way. The current EV tax credit,
Yeah.
it's like a bridge
Okay.
with a toll booth.
All right, I'm with you.
And this bill wants to change who's allowed to cross that bridge, who gets to reap the benefits.
Which are those sweet, sweet tax breaks?
Exactly. It all comes down to something called the Foreign Entity of Concern definition.
Well, what?
Foreign Entity of Concern definition, or EEOC for short.
EEC? Okay, yeah, that does sound kind of ominous.
Oh, yeah. Just a little bit. But basically, it's a designation the government uses to flag any entity that might pose a risk to national security. And that could be a company, could even be an individual.
Interesting.
In this case, they're using this VEO key definition to determine who can benefit from the EV tax credit.
So if a company is labeled a FEE2, that means they're out of luck.
They're out of the tax credit party, that's for sure.
Got it. Okay, and then there's this whole thing about loopholes, right? We've got the billionaire loophole, the Chinese manufacturing loophole.
Two big ones.
Okay, can you give us like the ELI 5 version for both of those?
Sure. So the billionaire loophole, it's a mouthful. I know.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
Let's say a Chinese billionaire wants to invest in a US-based EV startup, right?
Okay.
Under the current rules, they might be able to structure that investment in a way that lets them benefit from the EV tax credit.
Even though they're not an American citizen?
Even though they're non-American citizen, even though their company's not based here.
Wow, sneaky.
Yeah. And the bill wants to close that loophole.
Makes sense, keep those tax dollars here in the U.S.
Exactly. America first, right?
All right, what about the manufacturing loophole? What's that all about?
So that one gets at China's control over the EV battery supply chain.
Okay.
Right now, even if an EV is assembled here in America,
Right.
a Chinese company might have supplied a really important component like the battery.
Oh, I see.
And that could potentially still allow them to benefit indirectly from the U.S. tax credit.
So even if it says made in America, there's still some tricky stuff going on behind the scenes.
Exactly. It's complicated, and there's actually a lot of debate about how much of a loophole this really is.
Okay.
But the bill aims to close it by requiring a larger percentage of the EV manufacturing process,
Okay.
including where they get the raw materials.
So like the whole 9 yards.
The whole 9 yards to happen either in the U.S. or with countries we consider allies.
So it's about making sure the benefits of that tax credit are felt through the entire process.
Yes, from mine to road.
Not just at the very end when the car's like, shiny and new.
Precisely the goal is to boost American manufacturing and American jobs from the ground up.
Got it. Okay, so we've got these two big loopholes in our sights.
Yep.
Trying to close them up, but like you said, it's complicated, and I'm guessing not everyone's thrilled about this bill, right?
It's Washington, D.C. There are always going to be strong opinions on both sides of the aisle.
Okay, so let's dive into that then. Who's for it, who's against it, and why? You're telling me this bill has really, stirred up some strong feelings on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, it's definitely got people talking, especially Congresswoman Carol Miller.
She's the one behind this whole thing, right?
She's the driving force. She's been super vocal about this whole thing.
So what's her main argument? Like, why is she so fired up about this?
Well, she's basically saying that the current EV tax credit, the way it's set up, especially how the Biden-Harris administration has been running with it,
Yeah.
it's basically an open invitation for China to get even more of a foothold in the U.S. EV market.
So we're like shooting ourselves in the foot, basically.
That's what she's saying. We're using American taxpayer dollars to help companies that are just going to turn around and help China become even more of an EV powerhouse.
Which, I can see where she's coming from. We want those jobs here, those innovations.
Exactly. And her point is that this tax credit, with a few adjustments, it could be this really powerful tool for American manufacturing.
Yeah.
Instead of accidentally helping out our biggest competitor.
Right. Makes sense. But like we've been saying, it's complicated. And we saw that Congressman Dan Kildee, he's got a totally different take on this.
Totally different tune. He's worried that by making all these rules, making it harder for companies to use parts from China, we're actually going to slow ourselves down.
Interesting.
He's saying these companies might just say, forget it. It's too hard to do business here.
Yeah.
And if that happens, we're stuck relying on China even more.
Which is like the opposite of what we want.
Exactly. It's a gamble.
It is a gamble.
Right.
So what happens now with this bill? What's the next step?
Well, it already cruised through the House of Representatives 217 to 192.
Wow. So that means it goes straight to Biden's desk to sign it.
Well, not so fast. Remember the Senate?
Oh, right. The Senate has to weigh in too.
Exactly. It now goes to the Senate Finance Committee.
And what do they do?
They're the ones with the power. They control the purse strings.
So they can basically kill the bill if they want to.
They could, or they could propose some changes, maybe tweak it a little.
Okay.
And then they decide whether to even let the whole Senate vote on it.
Oh, man. So many hurdles to jump through.
Yeah.
So let's say it does make it past all those hurdles, makes it through the Senate. Everyone's happy. What happens then in the real world? Like, are car prices going to go up? Is China going to be mad? Are we all going to be digging for lithium in our backyards?
Those are the million-dollar questions, right? And unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball.
Darned.
But here's what we need to keep our eyes on.
Okay.
First, How is this going to impact the EV industry as a whole? Are we going to see this huge boom in American manufacturing? Or are these companies going to find loopholes, workarounds?
Right. Get creative with the rules.
Exactly. Second big question. How is this going to affect the price of electric vehicles?
Yeah. Is this going to make them more affordable, or is this going to make them even more expensive?
Right, because the goal is to get more EVs on the road, but if they're not affordable,
Nobody's going to buy them.
exactly. And then the third thing, and this is a big one, how's China going to react to all of this?
Ooh, good question.
Are they going to retaliate? Are we going to see a trade war?
That would not be good.
Not good at all.
No.
So, yeah, lots of unanswered questions right now, but one thing's for sure.
What's that?
This bill has really shown us just how tricky it is to find that balance between supporting American industries and navigating this global marketplace where everything's so interconnected.
Yeah, it's a tough one, for sure. Well, this has been a wild ride.
It has. It's been fascinating.
It has, and I think it's going to be even more fascinating to see how this all plays out.
Agreed. Buckle up.
Right. It's definitely something to keep an eye on, for sure. Everyone, thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll be back next time with even more news and analysis on the topics that matter.